You said you were gonna get it down close, didn't you?
Absolutely.
All right, I call this meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody to the May 7th work session. If I could get approval of agenda at this time.
So moved, Chairman.
Second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Wood. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, the work session is the tax assessor's office, and Mr. Wood, I think if you want to start off, or Tony, either one, it don't make no difference.
Thank you for having us here today. I have the Board of Assessors, I have my staff here. Maybe we can talk about some things to alleviate some of your concerns, and hopefully that the taxpayers don't think that the tax assessor's office is sticking their hand in their pocket, trying to constantly take their money out. So maybe we can alleviate those concerns. I have a brief outline that I created based on your last meeting. I would like to give to you and go through with some handouts and talk about some things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can ask me questions as we go along, not a problem. All right? All right. First thing I want to address is those 2024 values that were out there on the website. Okay? This is an email from me. Ooh, that's not copy, I'm sorry. From me to Q Public. Okay? On April 22nd, response on April 23rd from Q Public. And the email basically says, who authorized Q Public to put these values out there because they shouldn't have been out there. Okay? These values don't go on the website until after assessment notices are sent out May 15th. So that's basically what my email says. When did these values go live on an update? Who authorized the value to be published? How long did these values exist on the website? So I understand that some of you printed off some values of some properties during that time. Well, I'm here to tell you that they're not valid. They were unauthorized, and I can't speak to them because we had another 3 months left to go working in that file. As you see in the email, Q Public says they were unintentionally put on the website by them. Okay? Because I was very shocked when I was told they were out there because they're not supposed to be out there. Okay? Any questions on that?
I guess mine is, where'd they get the figures from?
From our file. But the file wasn't finalized by the assessor's office, and they weren't instructed to put those values out there. Okay, so any values you saw, I can't speak to. I don't know if they changed, if they're gonna stay the same of what you saw. All I can tell you is that they're not valid. Okay? All right? Let me go through this outline a little bit. Ad valorem property tax. Ad valorem property tax is by definition tax according to value of the property owned. It's a local tax levied by local authorities to pay for the operation of local government. It is in fact the largest source of revenue, estimated 85% for funding government and all their citizens. An assessor is a valuator. The assessor's function is to value property at 100% of its fair market value, making sure that all taxpayers within the jurisdiction will pay their fair share of ad valorem tax burden. Our office follows the market. We don't create it. I'll say that again. Our office follows the market. We don't create it. We are always working a year behind in our statistical data and analysis. Our 2024 values are not based on what's going on in the 2024 market, but rather what went on in the 2023 market. That's how it works all over the state of Georgia. Fair market value as defined by Georgia law OCGA 48-5-2 is the amount a knowledgeable buyer would pay for a property and a willing seller would accept for the property at an arm's length bona fide sale. The assessor's role is to determine the estimate, the value of the property, and not to determine the amount of taxes due or to determine the millage rate. I'm going to repeat that. The assessor's role is solely to estimate the value of the property and not to determine the amount of taxes due or to determine the millage rate. Okay? Got a handout, an overview, straight out of our manual, course 1. Print out of Scribes ad valorem taxation. And I give this to you so you can look at the bottom and see exactly how a millage rate is calculated. You can see down there, budget divided by digest. Okay? All right? Now this comes straight out of our course 1 manual. Once again, it says the assessor's evaluator. Value of the assessors achieved and defined by Georgia law as fair market value. Okay, you'll see some examples on the second page. That has to do with the county and school budget. You'll also see a flow chart of how all this works and how all this comes together. Okay, I'll give that to you for your review. Okay. Next handout is what comes directly off of our website. Okay? Frequently asked questions. Let me tell you about our website. About 2.5, 3 years ago, I commissioned the first ADA, American Disabilities Act, functional website in the state of Georgia, tax assessor's office. Okay? Now, a lot of other large counties have copied our website, but we were the first. All right? And it says, how is my property value determined? Property tax is the ad valorem tax based on value of property, both real and personal. Real property is defined as land and generally anything that is erected, growing, or affixed to the land. Personal property is boats, airplanes, business inventory, any equipment and fixtures needed to run a business. All right? Next page, fair market value. Assessors are charged with establishing the fair market value of the taxable real and personal properties in Jones County. Fair market means the amount a knowledgeable buyer would pay for a property and a willing seller would accept it for the property at an arm's length bona fide sale. All right? Board of Assessors on property values. Assessors and appraisers merely interpret what is happening in the marketplace. The appraised value is simply the estimate of what the property is worth. Okay? Appraisal procedures. Assessors use standard approaches in settling the value of all real and personal property. There are 3 approaches to value. Cost approach. Cost approach uses the actual replacement cost of the building less general depreciation plus the value of the land. That is what our computer system is based on. It's based on the cost approach. Okay? Our cost approach is run by WinGap. WinGap has 146 counties out of 159 that use WinGap. Okay? Market approach. The market approach involves analyzing sales of similar properties to predict the likelihood selling price of unsold properties. Income approach. Income approach is used for income producing properties and involves capitalizing the net income to arrive at a probable selling price for the property. All right, if you go to the Last page. Come down halfway. Department of Revenue may not override the Board of Assessors, Board of Equalization, hearing officer, arbitrator, or superior court regarding individual appraisal and assessments. So that's to do with appeals. Local Government Services Division of the Georgia Department of Revenue is charged with the general supervision of ad valorem tax administration across the state, including annual approved tax digests, the training and certification of tax officials, and regularly scheduled audits of each of the 159 county Board of Assessors. I'll repeat that last line. And regularly scheduled audits of each of the 159 county offices. Okay? I'll get into that at the end about the audits. Give you another update on that. All right, next handout. All right, results from the 2022 Jones County Ratio Study and Ratio Appeal with the Department of Audits and Accounts. I have a special guest here for you. Our superintendent who attended the appeal hearing. I'd like for him to come forward and he can give you his adaptation of what really happened at the appeal hearing. Here's some of the numbers that
That's
talk
the-
about
That's what we looked at.
Difference.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
yeah.
I don't remember, I guess it was back in the
About
fall.
7 months ago.
Yeah.
so-
We did an appeal based on the results that we were given, and it became very obvious very quickly into that appeal that not only with the number of counties in the state who were, I guess, had the ability to appeal, that it didn't make a whole lot of difference what kind of data was presented. And if you look at the data from 19 to 21, how it was very close aligned with what the state had given and I'm not familiar, don't speak with any expertise, just looking at the numbers. We were pretty much in line with what the state had given through that DOAA software and the WinGap software, but it's very obvious in 22 that that was much different. And as you can see, that was very obvious to me that Tony was up against City Hall, so to speak, and they were, with the number of appeals, I guess, that were available, and then with the difference in the numbers that they expected an increase in valuations. And that's my layman's approach and terminology to that. That's what it just seemed like, and it didn't matter. And it got to talking about sample sizes and where you picked the samples from, but that's what it took about 5 minutes for me to kind of feel that it didn't matter what kind of evidence or what kind of rebuttal or any kind of data that Tony and his team presented, that it was pretty much the message was you need to increase your valuations on your property.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Was that consistent across the board, Tony, for other appeals?
you. Is what consistent?
That they were just, this is what we say it is, and this is it?
Well, let me go through these percentages, and maybe you'll get a gist of what the superintendent just said. If you go to the second page, you'll see sales not used in the 2022 DOAA ratio study. Total number of sales, 819 say, some have been thrown out since then, but 0 to 35, 99%. Now remember, the range is 36 to 44. Okay? There were 253 sales, which accounted for 31%. Okay? 36 to 44, there were 531 sales, which accounted for 65%. 44 plus, there were 30 sales, which accounted for 4%. The DOAA used 146 sales out of the 224 in their ratio study that was below the 36%. Okay? Which resulted in a percentage of 65-17. You don't have to be a big mathematician to understand, okay, that we'll go through these other ones and I'll sum it up. The 2022 residential sales, 752, 0 to 35.99, 231 sales, 31%. 36 to 44%, 493 sales, 66%. 44 plus, 28 sales, 3%. DOAA used 138 residential sales out of 200 in the ratio study below 36%, which equals 69% of the study. Okay? 2022 agricultural sales, agricultural sales, 49, 0 to 35.99, 16 sales, 33%, 36 to 44, 31 sales, 63%, 44 plus, 2 sales, 4%. DOAA used 16 sales of a ratio of 31:47. 9 out of 16 sales were below 36%, which is 56.25%. Okay? Next page, commercial and industrial, 0 to 35.99, 7 sales, 43.75, 36 to 44, 9 sales, 56.25. DOA used only 7 sales for the ratio of 33.78. There's only 1 commercial sale. So I'm pretty sure you all got this sent to you. In the back, these are exactly where there's only 1 sale in this whole sales ratio study, okay, that they used, okay? Only 1. So based on the information provided, it is obvious, you don't have to be a mathematician to understand that it's obvious the DOA used the biased amount of sales under 36% to achieve the ratios in the 2022 ratio study for Jones County. Now, if you look behind that page, I have the evidence to back that up. Okay? You'll see these sales color-coded. Okay? The first one, yellow, that's under 36%. In the green, it's between 36 and 44.
So Tony, we don't have color coded, so you're gonna have to instruct us
It's on
as to what page.
It's on the handout.
Oh, on the handout?
It's in the
Okay,
handout.
I missed that, thank you. Okay, I'm good.
So these are not just numbers that are picked out of the air. They come directly off okay, our website as far as the total ratios are concerned, which should have been used. Is you're supposed to take an even rational percentage of sales from different ratio ranges. But if you only take lemons, which is under 36%, you can only get lemonade. You know, you can't get sweet tea or Sprite. You can only get lemons, lemonade. So it didn't take long to understand, and our superintendent understood that there was some type of bias that they took to get to those numbers. Okay? They
Was this the appeal?
Yes.
Do you, why, I'm just curious, why didn't, we had the school superintendent, why wasn't a representative of the county?
Well, I don't know. You were,
I'm just curious.
I don't know. No one came. Okay.
How was the superintendent notified of the appeal, the date and the time and the place?
Did we call him in email?
I didn't get an email with that date, time, and
I
place.
think I sent it to Jason. There's no reason for me not to tell you when the date was. There's no
Well,
reason.
if I remember correctly, we questioned why we didn't know anything about it until there was a notification of an appeal. So the school board recommended it, I guess by resolution at a board meeting.
We requested
Yeah.
understood it, the county commissioners and the school board could argue two entities.
Right.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay. All right, so, that has to do with the appeal, situation.
so, Tony, my question earlier was, were all the people, were there other appeals there that day than us?
no.
We were the only
They
one that
came to
day.
our office, sat in our office.
I was just wondering if everybody, because this is obviously different between 2019, 20, 21, and 22. And I guess my question was, were all the other counties, if 50%, over 50% of them were valued different than what, like ours was? Is that the
Some
same
of
thing we're
them,
receiving?
some of them had dramatic drops. Now, if you look at the last page, this comes right off the DOAA's sheet, and you'll see it. Passing DOR standards 36 to 44 and 22 was 78 counties that passed. Okay? Counties below 36, 81 didn't pass, 51%. 21, 115 counties passed, 72%. Okay? 2021, 28%. 2020, 146 counties passed, 92%. 2020, there were only 13 counties under 36%, which resulted in only 8%. 157 counties passed, 99%. 2019, the ones that fell below, it's only 2 counties, 1%. 2018, 157 counties passed, 99%. 2018, only 1 county didn't pass, 1%. Like I said, you don't have to be a rocket science to understand that they did something different in 2022. Either they were mandated to do something different, or they used a different formula in 2022.
Right.
Now, I couldn't get a direct answer, and I don't think we got a direct answer. Yeah, Superintendent. That's the first question I asked. What happened? We didn't get a direct answer. It was kind of, we went around in circles to give us a direct answer because statistics tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty obvious, and when I asked that about other appeals, I'm wondering if the 51% that were below, just say 50% of those appealed, and all of them were denied. You know, are we all in the same boat? Because I mean, I hope you understand that the question behind this, or the reason I questioned it, is because of the drastic change between last year and this year. And it was like, this is not just a little bit of an increase, and even not a little bit that the market would justify, in my opinion. So seeing these numbers justifies more than what I was seeing with market changes.
Well, I can't determine what sales they're gonna use in the ratio. That's totally up to them. And all we can do is go with it. But I'm gonna do a statistical analysis of what they used. And that's what I did. And it's clear to see that something changed. It wasn't changed on our part, because if you look at these numbers on the first page, and here it is, 2019, our ratio is 38.52, okay, from DOAA. 2020 is 39.36. 2021 is 37.34, all within the mandated 36 to 44 range. 2019, if you look on the right side, you'll see what comes out of our system, win gap. Okay? This is how we do checks and balances to see where we're at. So, checks and balances, 1.03, 0.65, 0.61 difference. Okay? 2022 is 4.54. Why? Once again, I didn't get an answer. I didn't get an answer why it was different. Because I do statistics, okay? And this is what we presented, and this is the questions we asked. Why? Didn't get an answer. Didn't even get an answer why. Okay? All right, so I wanted you to hear from the superintendent to get an unbiased opinion of what happened that day. Okay? And what we presented, you have the background behind it. It's straight statistics. That's what we do. Statistics. That's what tells us what to do, what not to do. Statistics. Okay? All right? All right. Number of sales in recent years, 758, 753, 700. It was a little different on the other page because they threw some out. Now, total sales in the last 3 years, 2011, we have about 15,500 parcels. That's 14.3%. Okay? That's very high in sales, very high. The normal is 5.5 to 8%. Very high. So you had an exorbitant amount of sales after the pandemic. And 2021, second half of 2022 were unicorn years. Unicorn. There's no one who predicted that people would buy at the price that they bought for these homes and properties. Nobody predicted that. Nobody. A lot of people overpaid. That's, to put it plainly, that's what happened. Okay? I don't know if a lot of people came from out of town and came into town and paid certain prices. A lot of people want to live in a certain area. A lot of people want to live in a certain type of house. You know, there were, you know, I've heard of bidding wars for homes. I heard of homes being on the market for a week and they were selling. I heard of homes not even advertised and they were selling. I heard it all. So it was a unicorn year. Nobody can predict that. Okay? All right, let's go to amount of appeals. Total amount of appeals. Appeals have gone down the last 6 years in our office. The last 6 years. I don't think you understand how important that is.
Thank you.
But appeals have gone down the last 6 years. Now, appeals going down in the last 6 years is another indication about where we're at. It's about where we're at. Okay? I can guarantee you, you can look at any county nearby and they can't say that their appeals went down 2 years in a row, let alone 6 years in a row. I guarantee you that. Okay? It means we're doing something right. All right? All right. Price per square foot residential property sold. I can tell you this. So we did a study. Once again, we're all about statistics. We're not throwing a dart at a dartboard, picking a number. It's all about studies and statistics. That's what tells us what to do and where we're going. So we did a study on the price per square foot. Okay? That's the property that sold, what we had it assessed at. We took out the land value. From that sale price. And we determined the price per square foot. Okay? So, go through this. 2022 and 2023. 2022, we used 159 sales as our sample. Okay. If you look at the last page, you will see Median is $105.14. The mean is $101.01. Okay? That's per square foot. That's what properties we're selling for. Okay? 2023, we did another study. 161 samples. You'll see the last page. Mean $110.56. Median $110.65. Okay? Our base computer in our system was only at $48. Okay? And 47 cents. So, when we see that number and we see these numbers here, now also you can Google any real estate company or whatever, and they'll show you that properties are selling between 128 and 148 per square foot in 2023. So, we look at our system and we see it's low. Well, we have to raise that up because the ratio has dropped. Okay? So it was raised up for everyone across the board. Okay? To be fair. All right? To $60.59. Okay? We also increased large tract parcels of 29.9 acres plus. We increased those 8%. That's based on the sales that have occurred the last 2 to 3 years. Everything we do is based on statistics. Okay? Pull the sales, we look at them based on our sales. Okay? Because they were selling at a very high price, those parcels over 29.9 acres. Okay? And very simply put, when the market goes up, we have to follow the market. That's our job. That's what's mandated in this law book. Not my law, it's the state of Georgia's law. That's what we have to do. Okay? That's our job. Okay? All right. What can the tax assessors do every year? We reassess annually, but we can do nothing. Sit on our hands and do nothing. Okay? We do that, we fall behind in market value. We fall behind in what this book tells us to do. We can go from 0 to 100 in valuation. If the market went up 20%, we take everybody up 20%. Market went up 20% the following year, we take everybody up 20%. That doesn't work. That's wrong. Okay? That's wrong. And I'll give you 2 examples how it's wrong. Okay? 2017 in Fulton County, I own a property there, so I can speak to this very clearly. And I used to work there. I didn't work there during this time, so don't get that, connected. But for 5 to 6 years before 2017, Fulton County did nothing. They sat on their hands. Houses sold, apartments sold, big office buildings sold. They did nothing. Department of Revenue said, you have to raise your values. Your values are too low. So what they did in their infinite wisdom, they went from 0 to 200%. It's documented. It's documented in a WSB TV article. State of Georgia holds all property tax collection for Fulton County. There are houses that went up 50% to 200%. They overcompensated, and there was a big rush and a big to-do and chaos happened. Board of Commissioners got involved. They did something they shouldn't have done and told the Board of Assessors roll back the rates and shouldn't have done that. Make a long story short, in October, Department of Revenue, Local Government Service said, we're not accepting your digest. We're not gonna take it. And, which meant, county can't bill, schools can't bill, you have to go to court for a temporary collection order. Everything stops. You have to go to court and sit in front of a judge and tell them what happened, why you need the bill, and everything else. That's what you don't want. That's 5 or 6 years of doing nothing. The Department of Revenue has every sale, every piece of information that we have, they have. So they see it. They see it. Okay? Now, I'll tell you another story. It has to do directly with me. My house up there, they increased my value 66% 1 year. My house didn't sell, my house wasn't up for sale, my house wasn't renovated. 2022. My mortgage went up $400 a month. They didn't care. I saw that, I immediately contacted the Board of Commissioners, said, you need to roll back the rate. They didn't roll back the rate. So I got a $400 increase in my mortgage. I don't know about you, I can barely pay it now. I don't know about you, but I don't know how many people can afford a $200, $300, $400 increase in their mortgage. So that's what we're not gonna do here in Jones County. We're not gonna do that to taxpayers, okay? Because I'm the prime example of that. We're not gonna do that, okay? Or the third option, we can gradually get closer to market value each year. If the market went here and we're here, we can gradually get there, okay, to show the Department of Revenue that we're doing our job, which is in this book, and getting there, okay? Plus, I don't want to tax or value someone out of their home. So we gradually get there. Not going to go from here to here, because I went through it. I personally went through it. Doesn't make sense. It's wrong. Okay? You gradually go up, because if the market is here, eventually the market's going to come down. So if you go from here to here, the market's going to come down, goes up, must come down, and you probably meet. But you're not putting a 50, 60% increase on a taxpayer in 1 year. That's wrong. That's wrong. You know, that's what you don't do. Okay? Staff and the Board of Assessors' responsibilities along with fair market value. I put down here, you can look through it, everything that we do. Value real property, value personal property, aircraft, brownfields, Coover properties, deed transfers, exempt property digest, forest land protection assessments, Freeport exemptions, homestead exemptions, landmark historic properties, mobile home digest pre-bills, motor vehicle appeals. You didn't know we did motor vehicle appeals, did you? We did 1,700 motor vehicle appeals in 2023. You didn't know that we did that, did you? Yeah. Yeah. Parental assessments, public utility, rehabilitated historic property, residential transitional, timber reporting, and qualified timberland properties. Those are all the things that we do. Okay, we need to know the requirements of it because it's in that black book. Okay? Our staff in the BOA, they're very good at what they do. Put my staff up against anybody. Very good at what they do. So are the Board of Assessors, they get it. They get the numbers. Okay? They understand this is a tough job. You gotta have thick skin to do this job. Nobody's coming in our office patting us on the back saying, good job for valuing my property. Sometimes we deal with disgruntled, sometimes rude taxpayers who don't understand it. We have to stand there and take it and explain it to them. It's a tough job. Tough job. As I said earlier, well, we had an unexpected retirements within 7 months of each other, with a total of 35 years experience between them in late 2022. We were lucky to get Tommy Lee Crosby from Crawford County. He came to us with experience, but that was after 7 months having a position vacant. We have another position which has been vacant for a year. Okay, we finally have a person for that position. I think we still do, right, Shannon? Okay. And, you know, we'll be starting at the end of May, but they're coming in with no experience. Okay? I had potential candidates refuse the starting salary of $17 an hour. After they learn the training they must go through, it takes 2 to 4 years to train somebody in this field. Do it, right? 2 to 4 years. Classroom training, hands-on training, takes 2 to 4 years. Someone just can't come off the street, because you have to learn all these rules and regulations in this book. Okay? What you can and can't do. Okay? Last 15 years, our tax office has been the same size. You can imagine how large the county has grown in the last 15 years. So I'm asking for another appraiser position. Okay? Because it's going to take a long time probably to get a person. Because you got to like math. Everybody doesn't like math. Okay? That's the reason why I asked to replace the 25-year-old furniture, because I have to reconfigure the office space because our office is limited. Okay? And, you know, I'm holding part of my desk together with tape. Okay? The furniture quote went up 5% from last year, $16,947. I want to thank you for the counter that you approved for us last year. I don't know if any of you saw it. I think I designed it very well. It's very nice, it's very professional. We got a lot of compliments on it. It's very nice, so thank you for that. I appreciate that. Okay? Chief Appraiser, I usually don't talk about myself, but today I'm gonna make an exception. Okay? This right here is my Assessment Administration Specialist designation for IAAO, International Association of Assessing Officers, that I attained in October of 2023. IAAO covers the United States and Canada for assessing officers. Okay? In December, from the Georgia Association of Assessing Officers, I got another designation. I obtained Georgia Certified Appraiser from GAAO, Georgia Association of Assessing Officials. I'm about to tell you something that staff don't know or my board. There are 159 counties in the state. That means there are 159 chief appraisers. You know how many chief appraisers have an IAAO designation and a GAAO designation in the state? 3. There are only 3. And you have one of those 3 right here in Jones County. There are only 3. Okay? So I just thought that that'd be something that you should know. All right. New assessments. Every year I meet with you, I give you what we project to be new assessments and new revenue. I give this so that you can understand what you need to do, where you need to go, as far as so, you see I have all the years there. You can go to 2024. Jason, you probably need to have this. Okay? So right now, we're looking at about 65 million in new assessments. About $900,000 in new county revenue. Last year was 1.6 million in new county revenue. Okay. Personal property, it's about 88,000. I'll give you this, so you can understand, total new assessments of revenue. Anytime a parcel was reassessed and it wasn't new construction or an addition, there was a property tax increase if you left the rate the same. That's just how it works. So leaving the millage rate the same doesn't mean that every taxpayer, every property will not be increasing. That is one of the reasons why I give you these totals every year. Okay? Roll back. This is the crux of the situation right here. This comes directly off the DOR website. Okay? I don't never want the public to point the finger at the tax assessor's office and say, oh, you guys, you're the bad guys. You're the bad guys. You know, you increase my taxes. You may increase your value, you may increase your taxes. Let's go to the second part. Rollback of millage rate when digest values increase by reassessments. DOR, the legislature, put that in this book to remedy us doing our job. So that's all we're doing is doing our job. Revenue Commission developed rules and regulations to implement the terms and provisions of OCGA 48-5-32-1. Prevention of indirect taxes increases each year. There are two types of value increases. Inflation and market increases due to market value, improved and new properties. Let's go to the second page, halfway down. Rollback of millage rate to offset inflationary increases. When total digest of a property is prepared, Georgia law requires that a rollback millage rate must be computed that will produce the same total revenue on the current year's new digest that last year's millage rate would have produced had no assessment occurred. And then it tells you what you need to do. Hold hearings. The county elects set a millage rate higher than the rollback rate. They would be required to have 3 public hearings, place notices, issue press releases. Okay? Now I also have on the sheet I gave you what you rolled back in 21 and 22. Well, 22 and 23. All right? Based on a $150,000 valued house. You roll back $1.80 on a $150,000 house. You roll back in 23, $4.08. Now, I don't know if that's enough, reasonable, or whatever. That's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. Okay? All right? But I'm sure, you can get with our illustrious tax commissioner, CFO, and Jason, and you can put together some numbers to tell how much rollback you should want. All right? Finally, at the end of the day, tax assessor's office doesn't determine how much a taxpayer pays in property taxes. The Board of Commissioners has the final say when they determine the budget for the county and the millage rate. Tax assessor's office is mandated by the state legislature and Department of Revenue to keep up with 100% of market value to determine the assessments. We don't have a choice not to, because if we don't, there are financial consequences. And as I said, there are financial consequences as far as Department of Revenue coming in and say, you're not doing your job. Market's going up here, you did nothing. You did nothing. And then they'll say, we're not going to accept your digest because you didn't do your job. So then you all would turn around and point the finger at our office and say, you didn't do your job. That's why we have to go get a temporary collection order. And county can't pay their bills, schools can't pay their bills. Okay? So we don't have a choice. Market goes up, we have to raise assessments. You have the choice whether to roll back the millage rate as far as you want to roll it back. That's your choice. We have nothing to do with that. We only determine the value of the property. That's all we do. When a taxpayer comes in our office and says, no, I want to pay my taxes, my staff will tell you, first thing they tell you, you can't appeal your taxes, and we can't talk to you about your taxes. That's not what we do. We talk about the value of your property. We can't talk about the taxes. That's not what we do. And here's a simple, I don't know, study for people when they get their assessment notice. Look at it. Look at the value. And say, you know what? If I was to sell my house tomorrow, how much would I sell it for? Would I sell it for more than what the value is on that assessment notice? Or would I sell it for lower that's on that assessment notice? If you sell it, say I'll sell it for much higher than that assessment notice, then you're probably doing okay. You're probably doing okay. And like I said, 2021, 2022, even 2023, they're unicorn years. Nobody could predict these high sale prices. People are overpaying. That's the simple way to put it. But we have to follow it to get up there, or the Department of Revenue is going to say, you're not doing your job. And that's simple. That's just the way that it works in our world, you know. And we try to do it in a respectable, with integrity. We're not trying to hurt a taxpayer, okay? That's why we do studies. That's why we do studies, so that we have backup to say, hey, all right, things are so there, we got to come a little closer this year, okay? But, you know, we do studies. It's all about statistics. It's all about analysis. It's not about us throwing a dart at a dartboard, picking any old number. That's not what we do. That's not what we do, okay? Last but not least, talking about you want to do a state to come in here and do a peer review. Well, we're mandated in this book every 3 years to be ordered by the Department of Revenue. Every 3 years. Mandatory. Okay? Mandatory. Last one we had was in 2021. The next one we're going to have is in a month or two. Okay? This is what they gave us after they come in here and audited us, look at our process, our procedures, our stats. Okay? And they write a report. Go to the last page of the report, please. Last page of the report. Final comments. County is doing very well complying with the Georgia Code and the Appraiser Procedure Manual. Board of Assessor Policy and Procedure Manual, along with the property field card provided for effective and efficient operation of the office and staff. The county has a relatively low percentage of property valued by override, and current ratio analysis indicates that the county is assessing taxpayer uniformly overall. Came from the Department of Revenue, our last last digest review, like I said, every 3 years mandated. This was 2021. Next one is in probably 2 months. We've already sent information to the Department of Revenue as part of what they requested. So I'll end it here to say that we're doing our job. That's the bottom line. And if we didn't do our job, we would sit on our hands and do nothing, and then possibly have Department of Revenue to come in here and say, you're not keeping up with market value, so we're not gonna take your digest. And if that happened, then you all would turn around and say, aha, you didn't do your job. So we're doing our job. We're doing it respectfully, with integrity, okay? So that we don't overvalue taxpayers. But as far as the taxes are concerned, we have no control over that. So I want to thank you for listening to me here today. I don't know if you have questions for the staff or the Board of Assessors.
Do we know what this year's ratios are? This year's ratios, 2023?
No, it doesn't come out till August.
What was the decrease of the 2022 public utilities? There was the negative balances there.
Yeah, each year, the public utilities are really just sent to us by the state. The state really handles the public utilities, we just get the values. And there are some public utilities that no longer own those properties and left.
So in 2021, we went from $8,840,132 to negative $3,426,042.
I'm sorry.
Is that correct?
Public utilities.
Public utilities, 22 new county assessments for the 2021 public utilities.
2022
6
was
million.
3,426,042.
Negative.
Negative. Those come directly from the state. We don't audit, state audits those.
Right, that's handled outside of Jones County office, that's handled
that's
Atlanta
handled in
level,
Atlanta.
and they
We
send
don't-
it to Jones County.
No, those figures.
But we
are
don't
six-
know why there's a negative there.
Kim?
Between which 2 years?
Between
2022. This figure right here.
In 2022 to 2023,
No.
No,
Or-
from
or
2021
2023.
to
What
22.
was the main cause of that?
I know that we did have some value changes. The ratio did have a factor in the revenue as well, because we did get a reduced amount based on that low ratio. It's one of the things that affects. But I know we also had some shifts in the railroads that year as well. I said, we don't actually value it, but the state does, and then we send out assessment notices basically agreeing with what the state says, because otherwise we have to defend something that is, the little I know about it, it's bigger than anyone here could, you know.
So we lost all the value on any public utility land.
There, we did get public utilities, but I'd have to, I have spreadsheets back at my office for it. I know we did have revenue from public utilities for the year. I can go get
It's just the
them.
overall value went
I can go back to my office and get a comparison to get some other
So
numbers.
we still got about 3 million.
down. We still, yes.
We still got money from
Yeah,
it.
we still got money. Thanks, Kim.
No problem.
I got a question.
Yes,
I know
sir.
we've got 3 years to rectify this. Where are we at now? Clock's ticking. In our first year, second year,
3 years to rectify what?
to get our values to where we're acceptable.
Well, that's why we're raising the price per square foot.
No, I'm asking, where are we at on that?
That's where we're at.
You know, timeline? Are we 5
done.
months in, a year and a half in, where we,
No, it's done for 2024.
okay? And it started in 2024?
No, it started as soon as we saw that ratio. We understood what we needed to do. So that's the remedy, the action that has to take when that ratio drops like that. That's what has to happen. And that's what we did.
Yeah, so, but we've got 3 years to get back into compliance.
So I guess a better way of asking that question is, what's gonna be the approach? What might be the incremental increases that we might
We
see?
have to do another study at the end of this year. That's what we have to, it's all about statistical based, you know? We have to look at where the sales are at and where we need to go and what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. So we have a test year in our system, okay, where we test the price per square foot to see how it affects people before we put it out. Okay? So we test
So
where we need to go.
So Tony, it's not as simple as saying, the difference is 4.54, right? And using simple math, that's 1.5133 per year increase to get to the difference that the state is suggesting. It's not that simple.
It's not that simple because you don't know, and I don't know, what type of sampling DOA is going to take.
And we know that they use an erroneous sample, right? For those of us that took statistics, undergrad and at the master's level, right? I know that the statistical numbers don't make sense. I know that statistical outliers. I know that there's statistical anomalies, right? And when I look at the mean, the median, and I would ask for the mode, right, and go on, that the numbers don't make sense. Like, literally, I was pissed as I was reading that. I don't use that word very often, but I don't like when data is skewed. It's kind of looking at,
Right.
you know, if we went to Bibb County or Jones County and just looked at all the beginning level learners and we threw out everybody else and said, oh, your school is underperforming because of that, that's so wrong. But when you look at the fact that 50% of the counties are in that same boat, something's not right, right? So for the taxpayers at home, for the people here in this room, I understand you say do a study. My heartburn as a real estate broker is I looked at 4 different properties, right? On Highway 18, $111 a square foot. On Oak Drive, $188 a square foot. On Diamond Street, $148 a square foot. Come on to my side of the county, $78 a square foot. What study makes it statistically prudent or accurate? Because our values are all over the place based on what zip code, what neighborhood you live in, and what the perceived value of living in a certain part of the county is.
You know about statistics, you take the median,
Uh-huh.
okay? Because the median throws out outliers.
I got you.
So you take the median, which gives you a more sort of accurate of where everyone should be at.
The median
Throws
says
out the
one,
highs, throws out the lows.
and the median says 110 should be our price, but we know we have statistical outliers at 181, right? 188 right now, which is also, the 5% is following the real estate market. That's what it should have been doing traditionally, not some of the values we've seen in sales going 30, 40%, and sometimes 80%, and we're selling right now. How do you bring balance to that, knowing that if you follow the median, you're going to be out of compliance, out of the statistical expectation of the state?
No, I wouldn't say we would be out of compliance because there are other factors that go into that. And I tell you, if you look at the ratio study, this right here, okay? There is something called the COD and the PRD on here. I'll show it to you. This right here, and this right here.
Okay?
This right here, this right here, this right here, this right here. This is another statistical checks and balance. This right here, this right here. COD has to do with the coefficient of dispersion. Has to do with uniformity. Okay? There's a range that the property should fall in between uniformly. Residential is 10 to 15. We're slightly outside of that at 16. Okay? All right? The PRD is 1.04. Well, let me go through the COD. Okay? Agriculture is 20. It's 15 to 20. We're at 20. Commercial and industrial, it's 15 to 20. We're at 16.98. Those are other statistical data that we look at to see where we're at. Okay? Especially COD has to do with uniformity. And not that far outside of uniformity guidelines.
Right.
This increase in price per square foot should help us get there to get under the 15%.
If I'm using the 4.54 from the state, and I add that in, it's gonna give me diversion that looks a little different.
Well, like I said,
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
we're gonna analyze the sales that they use also, because, you know, Superintendent, we all, you know, were like, huh? You use the highest amount of sales.
Right.
So, we have to analyze the sales, and when they send it to us, they send us the sales that are behind here, and we analyze these sales and how many of what ratio falls within what range, okay? And so, this didn't happen in the past because we were right there. Our numbers say we're 1.03, 0.65, 0.61, close to what DOAA said. And then it went to 4.54. So changing the price per square foot moves us in the right direction. I don't have a crystal ball to say that the price per square foot we moved it to is reasonable, okay? But the market, from what I've seen, properties are staying on the market a little bit longer. And I've seen a couple of sales lately online where people listed it at a price and sold for maybe $35,000, $40,000 less than that sale price. So the market seems to look like it may be changing a little bit. Market properties are staying on the market a little bit longer. But we're moving in the right direction. And all we can do is wait to see what the Department of Audits and Accounts and what they are going to, and what ratio they send us and what samples they use. But what they want to see is that we're moving in the right direction. That's part of the appeal process to them, that they see we've raised the price per square foot and kind of, okay, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? So that's what they look for. That's what they look for. Crystal ball, I don't have. I wish I did.
Yes.
I don't have.
I guess my problem with all of it is, if we know, I think we know, all of us know that this 2022 review is flawed, drastically flawed, which is the reason why we all went, what the heck? Which is the reason why we wound up here today. So, backing up a little bit, between the tax assessors, tax commissioner, board of commissioners, we all have the intent to assess values properly, accumulate the taxes needed to run the operations of the county. Everybody's doing their job right. That's a perfect world. For the last 3 years, based on these numbers, based on the numbers that I saw in probably 45 different tax records of properties, we didn't move the needle much at all between 2021 and 2024, or until 2024. 21, 22, 23, we didn't move very much at all as far as increases, rollbacks, any of that kind of stuff. We all felt like, and based on these numbers of 39.5, 38.7, 37.9, we felt like we were in a good spot. If we're now 1,000% reactive to a 32% all of a sudden, that we all feel like is a flawed and has been analyzed on our end, rebuked to them, and gotten nowhere on it, how do we I guess, how do we, justify making huge jumps?
It's not a huge jump.
Uh,
It's not a huge jump.
I would say the tax increases that I saw that were out there and have now not there is gonna be a huge jump for people's taxes this year.
Let me give you an example, since you say that. I'll give you an example. I'll throw examples. And we didn't go from nothing to something. In 2021, we valued some subdivisions that hadn't been revalued in a while. We valued some subdivisions that hadn't been revalued in a while, where the values didn't move in the last couple of years. But we realized that overall, there were increases all over the county. So that's why we decided to raise everyone the same amount. Here, I'll give you an example. Stone Gables Court, right over here. I won't name the property, but I'll tell you, 2023, 2024, 2023 was 192,300. 2024 is 219,904. Increase of 27,604 in value. Times 40% is 11,041. Times the current millage rate, county unincorporated, it's a $392.19 increase. Comes to $32.68 a month. Okay, River North, Eagle Drive. 2023 is 166,575. 2024 will be 191,810. Increase 25,235. Times 40% is 10,094. Times the River North millage rate, it's 369.57. Divided by 12, it's $30.80 a month. So, I believe that these are reasonable increases that get us going toward market value. Now, these, you can go in River North and look at the sales of where properties have sold for, okay? And what taxpayers need to understand, even though they haven't listed their house, haven't renovated their house, when the market goes up, their house has to change and go up too. And we try to do it in a respectable manner that is not overbearing, and hopefully the powers that be here will roll back the millage rate where it will offset a lot of this. But we have no choice. We have no choice. And we didn't do anything, we didn't do nothing in 2021 or 2020. We did do something. We valued some neighborhoods
So
that hadn't been touched in a while.
if we roll back, that moves us further away from the state number.
I don't know.
Because
What number?
if the state is requiring us to get to close to their ideal ratio, right? And we're rolling it back, doesn't that move us further away
We're
from?
rolling back the millage rate. It has nothing to do with the.
That doesn't have anything to do with value.
I hear you. Right. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because from a numbers perspective, we still collect the same amount of money, right? When you roll it back, you still collect, the whole idea is to keep the budget almost the same.
We're talking about value, we're not talking about,
I got you, but at the end of the day, if we did a leap, we end up collecting more money than we need, based on our budget. And that's where I'm going with this, right? Because theoretically, if we did what the state said do, here goes this number, taxpayers get taxed at this number, and if our budget is 25 million and now we're pulling in an extra 5 million unnecessarily because we didn't need it, that is part of what I'm talking about in terms of rolling back. If we didn't roll back, we'll get more than what we need. That's where I'm going with this. And we also don't file or fall into this little space where they want us to be in terms of our targeted rates. So, again, how do we find this delicate balance getting the dollar amount that we need to operate, which we know is lower than what the state requires us to do in terms of a dollar amount, and from a percentage rate of 44% being some target at some way point in the future.
Those are two different figures.
I agree, but that's,
Wait a minute, let me finish. The dollar amount that you need has nothing to do with the tax system.
I understand.
That has to do with the tax commissioner, the CFO, Jason, and you all.
I agree.
That's not our fight. I don't recommend this number or that number. The tax commissioner, that's his lane. That's what he does. That's not what we do. But
Understand.
you rolling back a millage rate has nothing to do with the DOAH ratio. Has nothing to do with it. Those are two separate issues. Has nothing to do with it.
Okay. I just do Euclidean algebra and it all gets there.
I understand. I
That's all I'm
understand. But I just want people to understand exactly what we do
I got you.
and what we don't do. And like I said, I don't want people to point the finger at tax system and say, you bad guys. You bad guys. You raised my taxes. No, no. You change your value based on the market value. That's because we had to. We don't have a choice. And we try to do it, once again, in a respectable manner and not overvalue people all in one year. That's all we can do.
I hear what you're saying, Tony, and I appreciate that, and I know y'all are doing what you're supposed to be doing. I think this value in 2022 has thrown us as much askew if it's true as it is if it's not true. Because you say we've done what we're supposed to do in 21, 22, and 23. The state says right now we are so far off base from last year, it's not even funny. We know those are biased samples. So how do we know next year we're either gonna get good samples or biased samples? And I know that's probably me throwing 6 numbers up in the air and you picking 5 of them, right?
We don't know. I'm not a genie, I'm not a magician. I have no idea.
But-
All I can tell you is this. We're doing what we're supposed to do so that this ratio isn't at this point again.
Right.
And that's all we can do. We realized that there was an issue. Hey, sales outpaced our assessments. That's all over the state. They outpaced our assessments. So we have to come up some to drop that gap. And so that's all we can do. And hopefully, Department of Audits comes in and say, okay, you're moving toward that goal. You're moving toward that goal. That's good. That's good. You recognize that there was an issue. We recognize there was an issue with the ratio. There's nothing that we can do about it. We presented our evidence. We understand statistics. It's flawed. But we have to still do our job and continue, regardless of that, and move toward a certain goal so that Department of Audits, Department of Revenue come in and say, you're doing your job, market value's up here, you're moving closer to that market value without hurting taxpayers.
Well, and that's the point I want to get at. I understand what you're saying, that you don't set taxes and you don't cost the taxpayers any money. Us doing nothing up here would cost the taxpayers money, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot. And I know you can say, well, that's on y'all, that ain't on me. But
Well, it is.
I understand. But what is on you is how we went from 37% in 21 to 32% in 23 and 22. Don't know what's in 23. Now, if it's flawed state, biased, all that, I get that.
Let
But
me-
we won't know until September, August.
September. But
What if in August they come back to 37? We're at 37.
you tell me, we're fine. We're good.
So we raised the value per square foot, and everybody's values, they're paying $400 more a year on
They're
a
not paying
$200,000
They're
house.
not paying $400 more a year based on these numbers. That's not what they're doing.
$38 a month times 12 months, $400 in my basic math, is what you just said.
$30 a month.
$30 a month times 12. It's $360, which is close enough to 400, we'll call it 400. It's more than $350.
Mine was $400 a month, not $400 a year.
Well, we ain't Fulton County,
Okay.
but, you know,
All
we're Jones County.
Okay.
And $400 a year to the taxpayers of Jones County is a lot, any way you slice it. For 1 year, for us to have told them the last 3 years, we're doing fine, we're doing fine. Your taxes are not going up 30, 40 bucks a year, is what, you know, some of them have gone up. And all of a sudden, it's going up based on, and I'm not fussing at you, I'm saying based on what we all believe to be a flawed system for last year. And we don't know what this year is gonna be.
Well, like I told you in the beginning, we don't set the market, we follow it. So if the market shoots to the moon, we gotta follow the market. We don't set it. We didn't set it on the moon.
But the market went crazy between 2020 and 2021. I sold 2 houses in 21 and 22 for a lot more than they were worth, so I can vouch for that.
All I can tell you is that we're doing what we need to do. These increases, we've talked about it, we've mulled it around, talked to the Board of Assessors, you know, they're reasonable increases. They're not where they probably could have went. If we either went 0 to 100, these increases would have tripled or quadrupled even more on a monthly basis. And we don't want to do that. But, you know, I have to, you know, we have to show the Department of Revenue, Department of Audits that we're moving toward. And if we have a median and a mean of $110 a square foot, Google any real estate, they'll tell you it's 138, 148. We're at 48. We gotta get it up. And we're trying to do it in a systematic way where we're not outvaluing people all in 1 year, because that would be wrong to do that. And that's not what we're trying to do.
Anything else, Commissioner Kitchen?
Nah, I agree with him. I can't, I'm waiting to see the June, July audit, and hopefully they'll tell us we're on the right path to fix this, what I consider
Sure.
a anomaly.
Sure, I'll bring it to you. As soon as they do it, I'll come before you and bring it to you. It's not a problem. Not a problem at all.
I know we've had rollback 3 years in a row, and we'll have another one this year to offset this, but I'm gonna be just as simple as can be. I don't care what these other counties that we're getting lumped with, what their problem is. I worry about one county, and that's Jones. And if somebody comes to me, any of these people in this room come to me and say what happened, I think we owe it to them to be able to come up with a reason of what happened. The peer review. Like I said, that would answer me questions. If we're doing something wrong, they'll let us know. If we're not doing anything wrong, guess what? That's gonna show too. But these people need to know what's going on.
We're already got a review in the next 2
Okay, no. This is a peer review. And at the conclusion of peer review, do you not get 3 years to correct any findings? Saying like you get 3 years to correct what we're doing now.
I haven't been through a peer review, so I couldn't tell you that.
Well.
For sure.
Well.
But we already get valued every 2 years. I mean, mandatory. And, so I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what the difference would be between
said, there's
that and what we're gonna have in the next 2 months. I don't know what the difference is. I don't think there is a difference if you look at that report I gave you. There is no difference.
What would happen if you're not here tomorrow?
My mother would be crying.
No. Employed in Jones County.
Huh?
Employed in Jones County.
What? What does that mean? I don't understand.
In January, you accepted a job, did you not, in Yorktown or wherever it was, Virginia?
Fort Smith?
Fort Smith?
I did not.
You didn't?
No.
Mr. Chairman,
whoa,
what does that have to do with?
Yes, it does have to
What,
do with
what,
what?
what does that have to do with
I'm just
anything
saying.
that the state has brought up? That is the question I have for you, sir.
I'm going with a peer review. And
Peer
that's what
review.
That's where this all started, with a peer review.
Peer review is independent of any job opportunity, whatever.
Okay,
So
no,
what
I'm
are we
just
doing?
saying, we as a county
Because if
would
you're
not
gonna do that,
have an
then we're gonna talk
assessor right
about
now.
personal attacks, because
No,
that's
I'm
what
not
it
personal
feels like.
attacks. Had he not went to that job, if he had went to that job, we would be without a tax assessor.
That has-
And we would also be
has
asking the question, what
absolutely
have we
nothing to
done
do
wrong?
with the state valuations, and that's been part of the problem. If you want to do this out in the open, I can talk about executive sessions and the attack, if that's what you want to do.
No, just sitting by test.
Okay,
This
so
is
stay
what's
on
right for
task.
the
If we're gonna
community.
stay on task, then let's stay on task.
We're on task. Peer review is what started this, isn't that correct?
That's what you wanted, because you're on a witch hunt for something, and here,
not on a witch hunt.
here the state has been exposed for using erroneous data.
Oh, I agree with that,
Picks
but
and chooses, then what is the conversation about after
I
that?
don't care what all the other counties that fell in
Do
the
you
same
care
line.
about what the
I
state is doing?
understand. I'm careful what's going on with this
Do you
county
care
that we
about what
can
the
ask.
state did to this county? Then you should be up the ladder talking to somebody at the state level about what they did to choose the numbers they did to come up with the ratios they have for our county. That would be what I would say a county chairman should be doing,
Well,
not
I-
attacking an
I
employee.
agree that the numbers are blown up,
Okay, then focus on that.
yes. But I also agree that we need, no, Mr. George has no problem. If we get the review and they say everything's fine, guess what? We can.
You
continue.
want a peer
But we
review.
get-
We
get-
already, that's been asked and answered. It's been voted on in this group. It died for a lack of a second. We did not get a peer review, so that's a moot point. This board has made its
wanted a work
decision.
session.
This board has made its decision.
Okay, no, you asked for a work session for that.
The board voted not to have a peer review. We just
Okay.
did that the meeting
All
before.
right.
So what are we talking about? Okay,
I'm not gonna debate today.
okay, great.
I'm looking
It-
looking out. If somebody comes up to me tomorrow and asks questions, I want to be able to answer. And I can't right now, other than we got some erroneous figures we're using right now.
Then where did the erroneous figures come from? That's what you should be looking for.
Well, 81 counties didn't have any problem with it, but we got some that did, yes. Isn't that right? Was that-
81 counties did have a problem with it.
is it 81 had, or needless to say, I don't care.
You got your numbers
I care
backwards
about
on that.
Jones County.
Okay.
You know, we can fix it
If
with the
there's
rollback.
nothing else, sir, I would enter a motion to adjourn if this is what we're doing.
Anyone else?
Second.
Second? All in favor, aye?
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.